It started with that hollow ping from my laptop, the kind that echoes in your gut like a bad omen. I was sitting in my cramped apartment in Oakland, the fog rolling in off the bay, when the video call invitation popped up. No subject line. Just urgent update from our CEO, Victor Hale. He appeared on screen, all polished teeth and scripted sympathy, announcing a strategic pivot that sounded more like a guillotine drop. My heart didn't race at first, it sank, slow and heavy, as if the weight of 6 years' loyalty was pulling it down into some dark abyss. By the time the HR rep, Lisa, joined with her clipboard voice, reciting the termination script like a bad eulogy, I was numb. Anna, this is about company-wide optimization, not your performance, she said, her eyes avoiding the camera. But I knew better. The merger with that big tech giant was weeks away, whispers of it buzzing through Slack channels I'd helped secure. And here I was, the internal legal eagle who drafted half the compliance docs, being cut loose like yesterday's news. The screen went black, and I stared at my reflection in it, a woman in her mid-30s, with tired eyes that had scanned thousands of contracts, now mirroring back betrayal. Not the flashy kind. No shouting matches or slammed doors. This was quieter, colder. The sort that seeps into your bones like San Francisco's eternal chill. I opened the severance email, fingers trembling not from anger but from that deep, unspoken wound of being discarded. The packet was standard fare, 2 months' pay, Cobra extension, a gag clause to keep me from bad-mouthing them on LinkedIn. But buried in the fine print, page 7, was the kicker, the equity conversion waiver. Sign here to authorize share liquidity post-merger, it read. Bold as brass. My breath caught. I'd written that clause myself back in 2021, during late-night sessions when Victor still called me his rock and looped me into board prep. It wasn't just paperwork, it was a safeguard. A quiet lock I'd installed to protect folks like me from exactly this, execs pruning the tree right before the fruit ripened. That night, I didn't cry. I brewed black coffee, strong and bitter like the resentment starting to brew inside me, and spread the documents across my kitchen table. My roommate, my older sister Min, poked her head in, her nurse's scrubs still on from the graveyard shift at UCSF. You okay, sis? Looks like you're prepping for war. I forced a smile, but inside, the hurt twisted sharper. 6 years of weekends sacrificed, of being the Asian girl who worked twice as hard to prove herself, as the old family saying went, handed down from our immigrant parents who drilled silence as strength. But this was no merit badge, it was a stab in the back. As I cross-referenced the waiver with my old notes, stashed in a box under the bed, labeled taxes for camouflage, I uncovered the gem. Clause 12E, all vested advisory holders must consent unanimously for merger-triggered conversions. Status persists post-termination if tenure criteria met. Tenure? Check. Advisory role on the governance committee? Double check. They hadn't stripped that, they'd forgotten it existed. Assuming I'd fade quietly into job-hunting oblivion. The realization didn't explode, it simmered. A low burn that made my chest tighten with a mix of vindication and sorrow. Why me? Why no? The merger was valued at $162 million. Shares set to skyrocket. They'd time my exit to pocket my peace without a fuss. Betrayal like that doesn't just sting, it scars. Reminding you that loyalty in corporate America is a one-way street. I sealed the unsigned waiver in an envelope, tucked it away, and ignored the follow-up email that dinged at midnight. Silence wasn't weakness, it was my weapon. Honed from years of biting my tongue in meetings where white guys got the credit for my ideas. By morning, the pressure mounted subtly, like fog thickening before a storm. Another nudge from HR, just a friendly reminder on your exit docs. I let it sit, unanswered, while I drove to Min's place in the East Bay suburbs, needing the distraction of her kids' chaos. Her daughter, Lily, 8 and full of questions, handed me a crayon drawing. "Auntie Anna, why do you look sad?" I hugged her, the innocence piercing my armor. Sad? More like hollowed out. The trust I'd built crumbling like the Bay Bridge in Quake. That afternoon, as I pored over archived board minutes on my phone, legally mine, from my advisory days, the pieces clicked. Victor and the CFO, Derek Voss, had pushed for streamlined headcount in Q4 memos. Right after investor talks heated up, they'd erase me to clean the cap table, betting on my compliance. But compliance was my domain, and now it would be their undoing. The calls started Wednesday. First, Derek, his voice slick as oil on the Golden Gate. "Anna, tough break. But sign that waiver and your shares convert nicely post-close. Win-win." I paused, letting the silence stretch like a taut wire. "I'm reviewing," I said flatly, hanging up before he could pivot. Inside, the wound festered, memories of late nights drafting those very protections, only to have them turned against me. Not personal, they said. It was the epitome of personal. A calculated shove off the ladder I'd helped build. Min noticed my quiet intensity over dinner. "You're plotting something, aren't you? Remember what Mom said, revenge eats the soul." But this wasn't blind rage, it was calculated. Born from the pain of invisibility. Of being the model minority who never rocked the boat until the boat tried to drown her. Thursday brought escalation. The tension coiling tighter. A voicemail from General Counsel. "Elena Torres, Anna. We need to clarify some points on your waiver. Call me." I didn't. Instead, I annotated the clause in red ink, feeling a spark of empowerment amid the ache. By evening, whispers reached me through a former colleague's text. "Board's freaking. Acquirer's diligence team flagged a consent gap." Good. Let them sweat. The betrayal's echo grew louder in my mind, replaying Victor's empty praises, Derek's backroom deals. I wasn't just hurt, I was resolved. The silence amplifying my power like a held breath before a scream. Friday. The dam cracked. An urgent email from Victor himself. "Let's discuss your package enhancement, $80K bonus for prompt execution." The offer stung, cheapening my worth to a bribe. I replied curtly, "Direct inquiries to counsel." Min's husband, Tom, chuckled over coffee. "You're playing 4D chess while they're stuck in checkers." But laughter couldn't mask the toll, the sleepless nights, the gnawing doubt if pushing back would brand me forever. Revenge's price, isolation. The fear of becoming the villain in my own story. Yet the pain propelled me. Without it, I'd have signed and vanished. The weekend blurred into dread for them. I imagined. Monday's board huddle turned frantic. For another insider tip. The acquirer's reps demanded full consents or no deal, no workarounds for legacy clauses. Victor's empire teetered on my silence. The irony delicious yet bitter. A LinkedIn DM from the founder's aide, Mr. Langford hopes for a chat, values your input. The founder, Elias Langford. Semi-retired but influential. Pulling strings. This was desperation, cloaked in nostalgia. I waited hours before responding. Available Tuesday. The hurt evolved now. From raw wound to steely scar, fueling my steps. Tuesday's meeting in their glassy downtown tower felt like entering enemy territory. I carried only a folder, my heart pounding beneath a calm facade. Victor, Derek, and 2 lawyers waited, faces etched with forced civility. "Anna, we mishandled this," Victor admitted, voice strained. "Let's make it right." I sat, unflinching. "You mean, undo the betrayal?" The room chilled. Derek leaned in, Sign. And your shares triple. Don't torpedo this for spite. Spite? No, this was justice for the erasure. For the psychological gut punch of being deemed expendable. I slid the unsigned waiver across. Clause 12E binds you. Without me. No conversion. Their eyes widened. The bung no arriving in hushed panic. Lawyers murmured. Victor paled. I stood. Checkmate comes from the quiet pieces. Walking out. The release was cathartic. But laced with cost, the bridges burned. The trust forever shattered. Wednesday. The acquirer extended the deadline, citing compliance issues. Internally, chaos reigned. Victor ghosted meetings. Derek scrambled. By afternoon, the proposal landed, reinstatement as senior governance consultant. Retroactive. With $1.5 million in fees. Full vesting. Board access, no gags. It wasn't victory, it was restitution. Hard one from Silence's blade. I signed via Zoom Thursday. Victor's averted gaze speaking volumes. No fanfare. Just the click sealing their fate. The closing Friday was antiseptic. Suits shuffling in a sterile conference room overlooking the bay. I arrived last. Pen in hand. Elias nodded respectfully, clever safeguard. MS. Kim. I signed the waiver. The ink of final punctuation on my journey. As I left, whispering to the empty hall. Silence isn't consent, it's the storm before the reckoning. I felt the price paid, empowerment forged in pain. But with scars that whispered of what loyalty's betrayal truly costs.